Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the high-stakes playbook of corporate-level strategy. We're going to discover exactly how massive conglomerates survive, grow, and completely dominate the global landscape. If you've ever wondered how the biggest companies in the world orchestrate their success across totally different industries, well, you're in the right place. All right, let's kick things off with a pretty crucial question. How do organizations with their fingers in dozens of different pies manage to not just survive, but absolutely thrive? Think about the Tata Group operating in steel, automotive, hospitality, and IT. Or Amazon dominating e-commerce, cloud computing, and entertainment. What is the invisible thread holding all of that together? To figure that out, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with a strategic big picture, look at the 3 strategy levels, and then open up the corporate strategy playbook. After that, we'll ground all of this with a real-world case on Reliance, and finally, look at how to navigate modern strategic challenges. So let's jump right into part 1, the strategic big picture. When we talk about corporate-level strategy, we are really talking about the ultimate, long-term direction for a company. It's not about the day-to-day grind of selling a specific product, right? Instead, it's about coordinating an entire portfolio of businesses to ensure they all pull toward one shared vision. It answers the absolute most fundamental question: what set of businesses should we even be in? By making these top-tier choices, senior management allocates resources and builds synergy so the whole organization becomes significantly greater than just the sum of its parts. Which brings us to Section 2, the 3 strategy levels. Think of it this way. If business-level strategy is captaining a single ship, figuring out how to outmaneuver the rival boats right next to you, corporate-level strategy is being the admiral of the entire fleet. You're the one deciding which oceans to sail in the first place. For example, Maruti Suzuki keeping their costs incredibly low to beat competitors in the auto sector, that's a brilliant business-level strategy. But the Tata Group taking their capital and investing it into a brand new renewable energy sector while still maintaining their massive steel business, that is corporate-level strategy at work. All right, moving on to Section 3, the corporate strategy playbook. When leaders are at the helm setting these massive corporate-level strategies, they generally have 4 main options. The playbook basically breaks down into growth, stability, retrenchment, and combination strategies. Let's break these down, and we'll start with the one everyone loves to talk about: growth. Growth strategies are all about, growing, expanding reach and profitability, and there are a few distinct ways to pull this off. You can use horizontal integration, which basically means combining with competitors to dominate a market, just like Meta did when they acquired Instagram. Or there's backward integration, where you take control of your supply chain. Think Starbucks owning the actual farms that produce their coffee. Then you have forward integration, which is getting much closer to the customer, like Apple deciding to build and run their own Apple stores. And finally, diversification. This is where you spread your risk by entering totally new markets. Think about Disney. They went from just making animated films to building massive global theme parks and launching streaming networks. But let's be real for a second. You simply can't grow forever. Sometimes the economy gets rocky, and a company has to use stability strategies. This is about pausing to regroup, or improving profits without actually expanding, like Indigo Airlines optimizing their fuel consumption so they make more money without having to buy more planes. But what happens when things go really wrong? That is when companies deploy high-stakes retrenchment tactics. This could be a turnaround, where you aggressively cut costs to reverse a downward spiral, kind of like Air India did before they were acquired. It could be divestment, where you sell off a struggling business unit, like Tata divesting Tata Teleservices. Or the absolute worst-case scenario, liquidation, just shutting down operations entirely and selling off the assets, which sadly is what we saw with Jet Airways. Now here is a little secret. Most of these massive conglomerates, they don't just pick one of these strategies. They use what's called a combination strategy. It's this incredible dynamic balancing act across a bunch of business units all at the same time. Imagine a massive firm expanding its IT sector globally, while at the exact same time stabilizing its manufacturing arm and maybe divesting a slow-moving retail brand. That kind of flexibility is absolutely crucial for balancing short-term risks with long-term resources. To really see this in action, let's go to Section 4. The Reliance real-world case. Reliance Industries is basically a masterclass in this. They started out as a petrochemical and textile giant, right? But their corporate leadership knew they had to evolve to stay on top. So they aggressively diversified into telecom with Jio, plus retail, plus green energy, which massively reduced their dependence on oil. Then they used incredible market penetration strategies literally offering free and ultra-low-cost data to just rapidly snatch market share from competitors. And they didn't stop there. They used forward integration, building OTT apps and GeoMart to lock customers directly into their digital ecosystem. And the results? Honestly, they're jaw-dropping. By expertly weaving all these corporate-level strategies together, Reliance catapulted Geo to over 450 million subscribers. And they did that in under 5 years. That is an unbelievable scale. This strategic playbook pushed the conglomerate's market capitalization past $200 billion. It made them India's largest retailer and a global digital-first powerhouse. I mean, that is the true power of a well-executed corporate strategy. But getting to the top is only half the battle. Let's head into our final section, navigating modern strategic challenges. See, one of the toughest parts of this whole game is maintaining strategic agility. Corporate strategy is by definition a long-term plan, but the real world, technology, regulations, global pandemics, that stuff changes overnight. You have to balance stability with the agility to pivot. Just look at Netflix. They expertly manage this by shifting from mailing DVDs to streaming video to creating their own content. On the flip side, look at Nokia. They had a wildly dominant corporate strategy in the past, but they failed to respond fast enough to the smartphone revolution, and they completely lost their global market leadership. At the corporate level, rigidity is basically a death sentence. So the admirals of these corporate fleets are basically performing a high-wire balancing act every single day. They have to align totally diverse business units and cultures, somehow making sure the steel division and the IT division actually share a unified vision. They have to efficiently allocate capital and talent, deciding who gets the most attention. And honestly, perhaps the toughest challenge of all, they have to balance the intense pressure for immediate, short-term financial results from shareholders with the absolute necessity of investing in long-term innovation so the company actually survives the next decade. And that brings us to a really core truth. Formulating and implementing a corporate-level strategy isn't just about launching a cool new product or crushing a single fiscal quarter. It is the master architectural blueprint of a business empire. Every single decision made at this level trickles down. It impacts every department, every employee, how resources are distributed, and ultimately it determines the long-term competitiveness and sustainability of the entire organization. So, as we wrap up this explainer on the complex and honestly fascinating world of corporate strategy, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Whether you're thinking about the company you work for, invest in, or just buy from, is their strategy built for future dominance, or are they merely trying to survive today? Thanks for joining me, and always remember to look at the big picture.